Hello, beautiful people. Today, let's discover the power of saying, I don't know. Imagine this. You're in a classroom, a meeting, or even chatting with friends, and someone asks you a question. You pause for a moment, and your mind races. You don't know the answer. But then, instinctively, you nod, mumble something, or give a vague reply just to seem smart. Sound familiar? You are not alone. Most of us have been there, pretending to know something because the thought of admitting ignorance feels uncomfortable. We fear judgment, criticism, or looking less competent. We worry that saying, I don't know, will make others see us as weak. But here's the secret. Admitting you don't know can be one of the most powerful moves you ever make. It takes courage to say, I don't know. And that courage opens doors that pretending can never open. Today, we'll explore why this small phrase can change the way you learn, grow, and connect with others, and how embracing it can transform your confidence, especially in learning a new language or leading others. By the end of this video, you'll understand why honesty matters more than perfection, and you'll learn practical ways to confidently say, I don't know, in your everyday life. Why people fear saying, I don't know. Let's start by understanding why this simple phrase feels so hard to say. First, there's social pressure. From a young age, we are conditioned to appear smart, capable, and knowledgeable. When we admit ignorance, even in small ways, it can feel like we're failing socially. We worry about judgment, ridicule, or losing credibility. Think about school. If a teacher asks you a question and you say, I don't know, sometimes you feel embarrassed. Maybe classmates laugh or your heart races with anxiety. That feeling stays with us into adulthood. Then there's the culture of perfectionism. We live in a world where knowledge and success are often equated with worth. From social media to workplaces, there's constant pressure to know, to excel, to avoid mistakes. So, admitting ignorance feels like stepping outside the ideal of perfection. In language learning, this fear is even stronger. Imagine trying to speak a new language and someone asks a question you don't understand. Many students freeze, avoid speaking, or guess, fearing mistakes. But here's the irony. Pretending to know actually slows your progress. Mistakes and questions are the fastest path to learning. And in leadership or professional settings, saying, I don't know, can feel like losing authority. Leaders are often expected to have all the answers. But here's a truth that few people talk about. Leaders who admit they don't know gain more respect, not less. Consider this. Someone pretending to know everything may initially seem competent. But mistakes happen. Promises fail. Trust erodes. Meanwhile, a leader who openly admits gaps can build credibility, encourage teamwork, and solve problems more effectively. So the fear of saying, I don't know, is real, but it is also misguided. Now let's shift perspective. Instead of seeing ignorance as weakness, what if we see it as opportunity? Saying, I don't know, can 1. Build trust and honesty. People respect honesty. Pretending might impress temporarily, but admitting a gap shows integrity. It signals, I value truth over appearance. 2. Open doors to learning. Once you admit you don't know, you can learn. Knowledge grows when we acknowledge what we lack. Pretending closes doors. Curiosity opens them. 3. Encourage collaboration. When you admit ignorance, it invites others to share their expertise. Suddenly, you are not alone. You are learning alongside others. Let me give you a simple language learning example. Suppose you are learning English and someone asks a question you don't understand. Instead of guessing, you say, I'm not sure, can you explain? Instantly, you have the chance to learn correctly, avoid mistakes, and even strengthen your relationship with the person. Now a leadership example. A manager faces a complex problem and admits, I don't have all the answers yet, but I'll find out. This honesty can inspire their team to work together, brainstorm solutions, and feel valued. In both cases, saying, "I don't know," isn't a sign of weakness, it's a powerful tool for growth. Let's talk about what happens when people avoid admitting ignorance. Mistakes and misunderstandings. Pretending to know often leads to errors. In language learning, guessing incorrectly reinforces wrong knowledge. At work, making decisions without understanding can cause setbacks. Wasted time. Covering gaps wastes energy. People spend hours trying to appear competent instead of learning what they actually need to know. Blocked learning opportunities. When you avoid asking questions, you miss chances to learn from others' experiences or expertise. Stress and anxiety. Pretending to know is exhausting. It creates fear of being found out and reduces confidence over time. Here's a real-life example. Imagine a student who pretends to understand every math lesson. They never ask questions, thinking it will make them look smart. But when exam day comes, panic sets in. They realize they actually missed key concepts. This anxiety could have been avoided if they simply admitted, "I don't understand this." Or in a workplace scenario, a team member pretends to know a software system. They volunteer to handle a task, but errors arise, deadlines are missed, and frustration grows. If they had simply asked for guidance, the task could have been completed efficiently, and relationships would remain intact. The pattern is clear. Pretending to know creates bigger problems than admitting ignorance. So, how can we shift our mindset to embrace "I don't know" confidently? 1. Reframe "I don't know" as an invitation to learn. Instead of seeing it as failure, see it as a starting point. Each admission of ignorance is a chance to grow. 2. Start small. Practice saying, "I don't know," in safe environments. This could be with friends, study groups, or even in your journal. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. 3. Use alternative phrases. Sometimes words can soften the impact. "I'm not sure, but I'll find out." That's a great question. Let's explore it together. "I don't know yet, but I'm curious to learn." These phrases keep you honest while also showing proactivity and curiosity. 4. Give yourself permission to be human. Everyone has gaps in knowledge. Accepting this allows you to focus on learning instead of worrying about appearances. 5. Learn from mistakes openly. When you admit you don't know and seek guidance, mistakes become lessons, not failures. This approach reduces stress and accelerates growth. Confidence doesn't mean knowing everything. True confidence comes from self-awareness and curiosity. Know what you know and what you don't know. Awareness gives clarity. Overcome fear of judgment. Remember, even experts started as beginners. Celebrate curiosity over perfection. Being curious is more valuable than appearing flawless. Let me share a story. Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds in history, once said, "The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know." Imagine a man of his genius admitting gaps in knowledge. Yet this humility fueled his curiosity and discoveries. Now that we've discussed the power of admitting ignorance and ways to start practicing it, let's take a closer look at why saying, "I don't know," connects so closely with curiosity and a growth mindset. A growth mindset, a term popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, is the belief that our abilities can improve through effort, learning, and perseverance. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities, mistakes as lessons, and gaps in knowledge as invitations to grow. When you say, "I don't know," you are acknowledging a gap. But more than that, you are opening the door to explore, ask questions, experiment, and ultimately improve. That simple phrase becomes a tool of empowerment. Think of curiosity as the fuel that powers this mindset. When you admit what you don't know, you naturally become curious. Questions start forming in your mind. How can I understand this better? Who can I ask for guidance? What resources can help me learn? Curiosity transforms uncertainty into opportunity. It replaces embarrassment with excitement. And the beauty of this approach is that it works in every area of life: learning, work, relationships, and self-growth. Let's visualize it with a simple example from language learning. Imagine you are practicing English and encounter a word you don't understand. Instead of pretending you know it, you ask, "What does this word mean?" Immediately, you're not just filling a gap in your vocabulary, you're exercising curiosity, connecting with others, and building confidence in using the language. The same principle applies in leadership. A leader who admits, "I don't know the answer yet," but seeks input from the team, fosters creativity and innovation. Teams feel valued, engaged, and trusted. Let's bring this principle into real-life scenarios so you can see the practical value of saying, "I don't know." 1. Language learning. Many learners feel paralyzed by the fear of mistakes. They hesitate to speak, fearing embarrassment. But progress doesn't come from perfection. It comes from participation, trial, and error. When you confidently say, "I don't know, can you explain?" or "I'm not sure how to say this correctly," you gain accurate knowledge faster. Reduce the risk of reinforcing mistakes. Build authentic communication skills. Feel more confident over time. In fact, every question you ask is a step closer to fluency. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room. The more questions you ask, the more light you bring to your understanding. 2. Professional settings and leadership. In workplaces, admitting ignorance is often seen as a strategic move. Instead of pretending to know everything, leaders can identify knowledge gaps. Teams are encouraged to contribute insights. Solutions become collaborative, stronger, and more innovative. Imagine a manager who says, "I don't have the complete answer, but let's find a solution together." This simple statement can reduce errors, foster trust and respect, improve team morale, encourage knowledge sharing. The key takeaway: admitting ignorance doesn't diminish your authority, it strengthens it. 3. Daily life and relationships. Even outside classrooms and workplaces, saying, "I don't know," can transform your interactions. You avoid misunderstandings in conversations. You invite honesty and open dialogue. You show humility, which inspires respect. Think about advice you've received from someone who admitted, "I don't know exactly, but here's what I think." You probably found it more credible and approachable than someone pretending to know everything. In short, honesty creates connection, and connection creates influence and trust. Now let's make this practical. You've understood the why and the what. Now here's how to implement it in your life. These steps will help you confidently embrace saying, "I don't know." Step 1. Identify what you don't know. Keep a journal. Whenever you feel uncertain or confused, write it down. Categorize gaps in knowledge in areas like language, work, hobbies, or general life. Example: if learning English, note down words, phrases, or grammar rules you struggle with. Step 2. Practice saying it. Start in low-pressure situations, with friends, family, or your journal. Use variations to soften impact. "I'm not sure, let me check," or "That's something I'd like to learn more about." Gradually move to bigger audiences, like a study group, classroom, or meeting. Step 3. Pair it with curiosity. Don't stop at, "I don't know." Follow it up with a question or action. "I don't know, how does this work?" "I'm not sure, can you explain?" Curiosity turns the admission into a learning opportunity. Step 4. Celebrate each admission. Every time you honestly say, "I don't know," acknowledge it as a step forward. Reflect on what you learned from it. Over time, your confidence grows because you no longer fear gaps in knowledge. You welcome them. Step 5. Reframe mistakes as feedback. Mistakes are inevitable. Instead of shame, see them as guidance. This mistake shows me what I need to learn. The more you admit ignorance, the fewer mistakes will be repeated. Step 6. Make it a habit. Challenge yourself to admit, I don't know, once a day, even in small ways. Slowly, honesty becomes natural. You'll notice, the stress of pretending disappears, learning accelerates, and interactions become more authentic. To make this concept stick, let's look at some real-life examples. 1. Thomas Edison. Edison famously failed thousands of times before inventing the electric light bulb. He could have pretended to know, but he admitted gaps, experimented openly, and asked questions. He treated "I don't know" as a step toward discovery, not failure. 2. J.K. Rowling. When Rowling first submitted Harry Potter, she didn't have all the answers. She learned from editors, feedback, and critics. Admitting what she didn't know about publishing allowed her to grow into the most successful storyteller of our time. 3. Everyday learners. Even in daily life, students who ask questions without fear progress faster than those who remain silent. A single question can prevent months of misunderstanding, frustration, or wasted effort. The lesson is clear. Saying, I don't know, is a gateway to growth, creativity, and resilience. By now, you might be thinking, I understand, but it still feels scary. Fear is natural. The fear of judgment, embarrassment, or failure is deeply human. But courage doesn't mean absence of fear. It means taking action despite it. Here's how to build courage. Start small. Admit, I don't know, in private or low-risk situations. Visualize positive outcomes. Imagine the benefits: learning, respect, better connections. Reflect on past wins. Recall times when honesty helped you solve a problem. Use affirmations. Remind yourself, it's okay not to know. I can learn. Courage grows like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Let's bring it all together. Admitting I don't know is honest. You build trust with yourself and others. Empowering, you open doors to learning and growth. Liberating, you remove the stress of pretending and perfectionism. Strategic, you encourage collaboration, curiosity, and innovation. Think about it this way. Knowledge is a vast ocean, and no one can know everything. Pretending to know is like trying to carry the entire ocean in a bucket. It's impossible and exhausting. But acknowledging the gaps, asking questions, and exploring the unknown is how we truly grow, lead, and thrive. So, the next time you feel pressure to appear smart, remember this simple truth. The most confident people are not those who pretend to know everything. They are those who embrace their curiosity, admit what they don't know, and use it as a springboard for growth. Your action today is simple. Say it out loud. I don't know. Feel the power in it. Pair it with curiosity. I don't know, but I will learn. Watch as doors open, stress fades, and confidence grows. Remember, honesty doesn't make you weak. It makes you unstoppably strong.